UFC 328 is over, and the biggest upset on the card was Sean Strickland surviving the grappling, dragging Khamzat Chimaev into deep water and taking the belt by split decision. Joshua Van had to go through absolute chaos to defend his title. Sean Brady shut down Buckley so badly that all that weird, late betting movement ended up meaning nothing. And before the main card even started, Hokit and Paulo Costa were already nearly fighting in the crowd over bonus money. So yeah, this card gave us a lot to talk about. Welcome back to the rear naked choke. No fluff, no filler, just straight to the point MMA news. And if you're already here, hit the like button and subscribe so more MMA fans can find the channel. Let's start with the main event, because Sean Strickland is once again champion. He beat Khamzat Chimaev by split decision and completely changed the picture at middleweight. And honestly, a lot of people did not see it going this way. The big question all week was whether Sean could stop the takedowns early, survive the grappling exchanges, and force Khamzat into a slower, uglier kind of fight. And that is basically what happened. Once Sean started shutting down the control and making Khamzat work for everything, the whole fight changed. It became a much more familiar kind of Strickland fight. Long rounds, pressure, constant irritation, constant touching, constant pace. And once that started building, you could feel Khamzat losing the clean control that people expected him to have. That's why this win is so big for Sean, because this wasn't just a matter of landing one shot or catching a guy cold. This was him solving the exact puzzle people thought would beat him. And afterwards, the reaction was all over the place. Some people were stunned. Some people thought the decision was right. Some people thought Khamzat's body language after the fight looked terrible. And then, in a twist nobody would have predicted a few days ago, the two actually squashed the beef after the fight, with Khamzat even putting the belt around Sean. That image alone pretty much tells you how exhausting this fight must have been. It went from personal chaos all week to a strange moment of respect at the end. Now, if you're Khamzat, the big question is what comes next. Because this feels like one of those losses that changes the whole conversation around you, not because he got exposed as a bad fighter, far from it, but because now there's a very real blueprint. Make him work hard early, survive the first layers, force him to keep wrestling, keep making him reset, and drag him deeper. That's what Sean did, and now everyone else just saw it. Now let's move to the co-main event, because Joshua Van defended his flyweight title in an absolute war against Tatsuro Taira, and that fight was chaos in the best way. Van got the TKO in the 5th round, but the stoppage immediately became a huge talking point because a lot of people thought it came too early, especially in the 5th round of a title fight. That's why the reaction was so mixed. Some people were celebrating the performance, others were saying the ref stepped in too fast, and honestly, both things can be true, because one thing that's not really debatable is that Joshua Van looked like a real champion in there. His boxing kept showing up and it kept getting sharper as the fight went on. That was the story. Taira had his moments, especially with the grappling, but Van kept finding answers, kept staying calm, and kept building. And afterward, Van sounded like a guy who knows exactly what this win means. He talked about proving he's a real world champion, gave respect to Taira, and also made it clear that his team kept telling him the same thing all camp: stay calm. That was the difference. Not rushing, not forcing, not panicking, just trusting the work. And what makes this even cooler is the bigger picture around it. This was the first UFC title fight where both fighters were born in the 2000s. That's crazy. And it really did feel like one of those moments where the future of a division was right there in front of you. Now, whether people want an immediate rematch or want Van to move on, one thing is clear: that fight put both guys in an even bigger spotlight. Now, let's talk about Sean Brady, because if there was any doubt about how good he is, after all the weird chatter going into this fight, he erased it. He dominated Buckley completely. Over 12 minutes of control time, massive strike difference, and basically no real doubt by the end of it. And what makes this even funnier is that late betting line movement had people talking all day like maybe Brady was hurt, maybe something was wrong, maybe Buckley knew something. Turns out none of it mattered. Brady went in there and put on a grappling seminar. That's the phrase a lot of people were using, and it fits, because this wasn't just a win, it was a reminder that Brady is still one of the nastiest grinders in that division when he gets the fight where he wants it. And afterward, Brady sounded relieved more than anything else. He basically said, look, people acted like he suddenly sucked after the last setback, and he wanted to show everyone he still belongs at the top. Mission accomplished. Now he's talking about fights that actually make sense for his position, mentioning Usman as one of the names he likes. And honestly, that would be interesting, because now Brady has done what he needed to do. He bounced back, shut people up, and reminded everyone he's still a serious problem. Now, before the title fights and before Brady's big statement win, we also got one of the strangest bonus-related scenes in recent memory. Josh Hokit and Paulo Costa had to be separated in the crowd before the main card even started, and yes, it was apparently about money. Costa says Hokit owes him 100 grand after Hokit got 2 bonuses for beating Curtis Blades, while Costa didn't get one for his own win over Azamat Murzakanov. That's such a ridiculous sentence that it almost sounds fake, but that's where we are now. And honestly, it does show how much bonus money matters to these guys. Fans laugh at the confrontation, but underneath it, there's a real frustration there. Who gets rewarded? Who doesn't? What kind of performance gets noticed? What doesn't? That stuff clearly sticks with fighters. Now let's hit a couple more results quickly. King Green submitted Jeremy Stephens in the first round with a rear naked choke, and what stood out most after the fight was Jeremy leaving his gloves in the octagon. That usually tells you everything. If that was the end, then that's the end of a very long UFC run, and a brutal stat came with it too. Stephens now has the most losses in UFC history with 20. That's rough. On the other side, King Green is quietly on a 3-fight win streak now and clearly wants to keep rolling immediately. He was already talking about fighting again next week. That's just classic King Green energy. And then Alexander Volkov beat Waldo Cortes-Acosta by unanimous decision in a fight that had some people debating the score, especially the final round. But most of the reaction leaned toward Volkov, having simply fought the smarter, cleaner fight. And afterward, Volkov basically gave one of those thoughtful, veteran answers where he talked about not wanting to just be another heavyweight with one big punch. He made it clear he still sees himself as a martial artist first, not just another tank walking forward looking for a bomb. And honestly, that mindset is probably part of why he's still around doing this at a high level. So when you look at the full card, UFC 328 ended up giving you almost everything. Pre-fight chaos with Hokit and Costa, a possible UFC goodbye for Jeremy Stephens, a dominant bounce back from Sean Brady, an all-action flyweight title fight with controversy at the finish, and a main event where Sean Strickland did what a lot of people thought he couldn't do and walked out with the belt. That's a loaded card. Let me know in the comments what stood out most to you. Did Sean Strickland prove people wrong for good against Khamzat? Was the Joshua Van stoppage too early? And where do you want Sean Brady to go next? And if you want more straight-to-the-point MMA news, make sure you subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.